For some, the transition between high school and college is seamless and a natural educational progression. For others, the transition is problematic and riddled with unexpected twists and turns. For me, my college experience began with the first of many anxiety attacks. After countless doctor's visits, I was diagnosed with clinical anxiety and depression and given different prescriptions of medication. My anxiety medication was prescribed to level out the chemical imbalance that was happening inside my brain. But it had an adverse effect. My medication would leave me an emotionless zombie, essentially walking about campus not feeling anything. It was because of this lack of emotions that I knew medication was not the answer to my anxiety. During one of my therapist appointments, I was asked to create this simple list of fears, which I would then burn, signifying the release of those fears. Now, I didn't burn that list for two reasons. One, I can't burn things in my dorm. And two, I forgot. Now, all of our fears can be sorted into two different categories, rational and irrational. Rational fears, such as fear of heights or fear of fighting, alert us of potential and immediate danger. These fears serve to protect us. Irrational fears, however, such as fear of failure or public speaking, yield no evidence of physical or mental harm. Rather than saving us from life-threatening situations, our irrational fears have the potential to hinder us from life-changing experiences. I took a look back at that list of fears, and I was surprised to find that most of my fears were irrational. These fears, such as fear of leaving my dorm or socializing with friends, stopped me from experiencing life. So I decided to do something about it. I got an idea from an article that I read about a South American indigenous tribe. In the Babemba tribe, if a member were to act unjustly, instead of being ridiculed, they would embrace their faults in the middle of this village, surrounded by other members who would only speak good things about the individual. And like the Babemba tribe, I took each of these irrational fears and allowed myself to embrace them. If I was afraid of going outside of my dorm, I would spend the entire day outside of my room. If I was afraid of socializing with people, I was the first one to initiate a conversation. If I was afraid of talking in front of people, I'd give a TED talk about it. It wasn't easy, but over time, I began to notice dramatic changes in my mental health. So, what was the result? By allowing myself to embrace these irrational fears, I've been medication-free for almost 2 years. From this experience, I've learned that our perception of fear needs to change in our society because our fears have the potential to be stops on a roadmap to an anxiety-free life. If we shift our perspective, if we are more open to not being afraid of our fears, if instead we learn to embrace these fears, perhaps we can find ourselves living a better and happier life. Thank you.